Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
The time is 10 minutes to 8. Let's pick up with some of your questions and concerns over the imposition of these new Tier 4 rules and how it will work with Home Secretary Priti Patel, who joins me now. Home Secretary, good morning. Thank you for coming on the show. There's concern that if a lot of people take to the roads over Christmas Day, or even Christmas Eve for that matter, the police simply won't be able to enforce. There just aren't enough of them. How do you respond to that? Good morning to you.
Nick, good morning. Well, first of all, you've heard me say this before. The police are doing heroic work. They
Indeed.
really are throughout coronavirus. And, we're not anticipating people to be, taken to the roads and it to be busy, because our message has been pretty clearly that we want people to stay at home this Christmas to prevent the spread of this virus. And I personally think, from what I've seen of the British public right now, they're absolutely following that guidance, and, they're very conscientious about keeping each other safe.
But it's the role of the police to prepare for all eventualities. So are you confident that they will be able to manage if people do take to the roads, Home Secretary?
Well, we've seen the police undertake all sorts of issues, events, egregious behaviours and breaches throughout coronavirus. And of course, the police are well equipped and well trained to do that. Nick, you'll know as well, throughout this, they've been exercising the 4Es. They have been going after egregious breaches. They've been issuing fixed penalty notices. That won't change. They will continue to do that. And of course, the police are well geared up in terms of managing situations as and when they evolve.
And just to remind, it's engage, explain, educate, and lastly enforce. Those
encourage.
Are the encourage. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. Right. Okay. Just
encourage
some of
compliance around the regulations.
Okay, and enforce is the final E. Just so that I get my listeners.
You don't need any explanation or engagement or encouragement.
I abide by the law at all times, Home Secretary. You know
Very
that.
good.
Indeed. Can we talk about Dover? How many trucks do you understand are still stuck there at this time, Home Secretary?
Well, I have just been told they're just over 800 in that queue, or just there in the run up to that sort of Dover area. And of course, it does fluctuate. I should emphasise to your
Well, where are
listeners
they going, Home Secretary? Because when Prime Minister spoke yesterday at around 5, there had been 500. Your colleague Grant Shapps said it was 174. Now we hear it's 800. What's going on here? Who's managing the traffic?
No, so first of all, these numbers come from the Highways Agency, Highways England. They provide the numbers, but you have to realise that the numbers of lorries actually fluctuate because, they come and go, first of all, because some of them are already around the country, dropping off their goods to their various locations. That's what road hauliers do.
No, I get that.
And we are also telling hauliers not to come to Dover. But those that have been and are coming to Dover, of course, we have Operation Brock, which is our contraflow measures, where we have an inland site which is at Manston, where basically we are now directing lorries to go to. So the lorries are going to Manston, where they're basically going to literally be kept there, and the drivers have access to welfare services, food, bathrooms, etc., etc.
Right, but this isn't a solution, is it? It's a giant lorry park. It's not a solution, is it, Home Secretary?
Well, we always have. Inland sites are part of all our operational planning.
Right.
And to be quite frank, I mean, these parks are vital for, times when we have queues at the border. And this is nothing new, Nick. I mean,
Right.
you know this. I'm sure you've had many members of governments in the past come and talk about Operation Stack, infamous on the M20, where there are, when there have been strikes at Calais, when there have been border issues, when there have been choppy weather.
So where, just lastly on
cannot
this,
travel across.
Just lastly, so it was 500, then yesterday afternoon it was down to 174. Where did the 326 trucks go?
Well, the Operation Brock came on stream yesterday. So, the lorries, the contraflow processes, and I know because I spoke to the Chief Constable of Kent yesterday, mid-morning, in fact, when he actually said to me that the operation was up and running. It would be coming on stream. So that's happened throughout the day and throughout the night.
But where did they go? Did they just drive off around the country? I don't understand where they went.
No. So this is the point. Manston is an inland site where they
so they were just moved
They're
to Manston,
redirected.
then?
They are redirected. That is part of the operational approach that is taken through this contraflow measure.
Is this a portent of what we'll see over Brexit, do you fear, Home Secretary?
Well, absolutely not. And I emphasise again that, we constantly see, whether it's bad weather, strikes in Calais, issues at the border, we constantly see, queues of lorries on the M20, and Operation Stack is infamous. If you're a resident in Kent or around the Dover area, people know of queues, basically, of lorries. But the fact of the matter is, Nick, I think I said this last week, my colleagues say this frequently, government has spent the last 12 months and more basically planning for the end of transition. We have infrastructure in place, for queues. We have 7 inland sites across the country around our ports. It is a natural operational posture that we plan for events where there are problems at the ports. And it could be technology going down, for example, either in Calais or elsewhere. But this isn't just the only way in which we get our freight coming into the country. We have freight coming in by air. We have many other ports around the country. This is freight that comes through Ro-Ro, the short straits, where it's actually handled by humans, i.e. with lorry drivers. There is a lot of other freight. 80% of our freight comes in that is not necessarily handled by humans in this way, through other ports, through the air, through Portsmouth, through our great ports in Essex and other ports around the country.
All right. To move to other matters, how confident are you that all children will return to their schools next month?
Well, we want to make sure that children go back to school. There's no question about that.
Right.
And, we all
But my question was,
know
how
the
confident
importance.
are you?
I'm coming on to that.
Oh, right, okay.
On to that, Nick.
Okay, thank you.
The point is, education is vitally important,
Yes.
as we know, to all our children.
Indeed.
We are planning, as you have heard previously again, for testing in our schools. Some of that work was undertaken last week, before the end of term, because we are concerned, and rightly so, we're concerned about the health of children, and we also have seen strains of coronavirus within children as well. So my colleague Gavin Williamson in the Department of Education, we're working with schools to look at the plans for schools going back, but also ensuring that we have the protective and preventative measures in place, such as mass testing, to keep our children safe.
Yes. So how confident are you that they will? So that's the importance of education.
So
and how hard
I'm confident schools will be returning in January.
All pupils.
No doubt about that. I can't tell you about all pupils, because obviously, schools operate differently across the country with local education authorities. But the fact of the matter is, the government wants to keep schools open, and of course we will put measures in place, such as the testing of our pupils, children in our schools. Our priority is obviously to keep children and school teachers and staff safe, and to create the right kind of safe environment in our schools.
Just noting, you said no doubt about that, so the parents can certainly work to that. You mentioned mass testing. Shouldn't that be made available in Tier 4 areas, Home Secretary?
Well, it has been, and this is an ongoing point that we keep making. Of course, famously, Liverpool was a Tier 3 place, and it was fully mass tested. They had mass testing of around 220, over 250,000 people. Mass testing is being rolled out across the country, and Tier 4 London. So mass testing is being rolled out in London.
Where?
There was a big surge last week across London, across key London boroughs where we have very, very high levels of COVID. And this is run through the Strategic Coordinating Group, which is a combination of the local resilience forums, so police, fire, local councils. Mass testing is taking place, and that is being rolled out across the country. And it's important, I think, that we continue to make that available alongside getting the vaccine rollout, which we are seeing taking place very successfully.
And are vaccinations prioritised in Tier 4, Home Secretary?
Well, all the sites around, you see vaccination being prioritised. You'll know, Nick, that there is not just a programme of mass vaccination, but actually certain categories of the public that are being vaccinated first.
But does Tier 4 get more than, say, a Tier 2?
Well, I'm not sure that is the case, because obviously this goes through all primary care facilities. So hospitals and GPs are now rolling out the vaccine. But the vaccine is being rolled out across the country, across the entire United Kingdom, to make sure that those who are vulnerable and need the vaccine are absolutely getting that.
How close are we to effectively another lockdown or Tier 4 nationwide, Home Secretary?
Well, first of all, it's right that we, look at the spread of the virus, and all decisions are made. We have constant review periods based on the data that comes in from Public Health England and from government advisors. This isn't about how close are we to a lockdown. We've just made and introduced new measures over the weekend with Tier 4. We will continue to watch the virus. We will continue to, reiterate protective measures across the country. And of course, our absolute focus is getting the spread of this virus down. And I do think, and I do maintain that as the public follow the rules, follow the guidance within the tiers, Tier 4 in particular, where we know the virus has been spreading, if we can get on top of that, then clearly in due course, one hopes we can actually have more of our freedoms back.
Finally, coming back to Dover, how confident are you there may be a resolution between London and Paris at some point today, Home Secretary?
Well, discussions are underway. You heard from the Prime Minister yesterday, who said that he's spoken to President Macron. My colleague Grant Shapps, the Transport Secretary, has been engaging, liaising with his counterpart in Paris throughout yesterday, and those discussions will continue.
But will we get a resolution?
It's in both our interests to get a resolution, and that is clearly recognised on both sides.
But I'm just some of my listeners are concerned, obviously, for goods in shops. Have you bought your Brussels sprouts, Home Secretary?
So I have not been shopping, primarily because, as you'd expect me to do so, Nick, I've been working every day and I'll continue to be working.
Of course.
But, I don't think anybody should be worried. There is plenty of food in our shops. And as I've said...
Well, when are you going to get shopping? When are you going, assuming you have a turkey, you're now going to tell me you're a vegetarian, but when are you going to...
I'm not a vegetarian.
You're not a vegetarian. OK, so when are you going to get your pigs in blankets and your Brussels sprouts, Home Secretary?
I'm fortunate to say that I have... My husband has the shopping list, basically. He's been tasked with doing those important jobs.
Well, they are.
Basically.
Is he a good shopper?
So he's great. My husband is great in many ways. A great shopper, a great cook.
I'm so relieved you'll have Brussels sprouts at the Patel family table. And thanks for all your help through this year. Have yourself a safe Christmas. Thank you. And of course, all the police officers who serve under you. Home Secretary Priti Patel appearing here on LBC and assuring us the Brussels sprouts will be on her table. 2 minutes after 8 news time. Holly Jones.
On your radio, on Global Player, and...
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, there are warnings more parts of England could face lockdown coronavirus restrictions following the new strain discovered in the UK. The government's chief scientific advisor says tougher rules may be needed as cases of the variant are everywhere. London and parts of the south east and east were put into the toughest Tier 4 measures at the weekend. Professor Lawrence Young is a virologist at the University of Warwick. He says more needs to be done than having a lockdown with no follow-up.
I think just having lockdown and not doing anything is the problem.